Yo les gars, c'est votre Blacky, on se retrouve pour une nouvelle vidéo réaction, ça fait longtemps que j'en ai pas fait. Cette vidéo va parler de YNW Melly, c'est la vidéo que je vous ai promis. En fait, c'est un avocat qui va parler de la situation de Melly, qui risque la peine de mort, ce que la justice a sur Melly. Il va tout expliquer. Voilà la chaîne en question, c'est CLR Bruce River. Sa dernière vidéo, il l'a sortie il y a 3 jours sur Melly. Il parle de plusieurs rappeurs, Melly c'est pas le seul. Voilà, comme tu as pu le voir une semaine, il a parlé de Pusha T. Je sais qu'il avait parlé de NBA Youngboy. Donc voilà, on va voir ce qu'il dit sur Melly. Vous avez le titre de la vidéo juste ici, pour ceux qui veulent regarder encore. Donc c'est parti, on va mettre en plein écran. J'espère qu'on va apprendre des trucs de ouf parce que l'histoire de Melly c'est assez flou. Genre, enfin on a pas mal d'informations, mais voilà, à chaque fois les seules news qu'on apprend c'est ouais il va sortir et au final il sort jamais.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm a board certified criminal defense lawyer where I try actual cases, and I'm here to comment and give you a little bit of an update on the Melly case. Now, as you may know, Melly is sitting in jail in Florida, charged with double homicide, first-degree murder, and he's looking at.
Bon, ça on le sait.
He is charged with the death of Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr. Now, there's a lot of interesting things going on in this case, and let's talk about what the government doesn't have and what the government does have.
Voilà la partie qui nous
The government in
intéresse.
this case doesn't have a weapon. The government doesn't have any eyewitnesses that we know of yet. And so it's going to be a circumstantial case. They'll have cell phone tower records. They'll have some ballistics. They'll have forensics on the vehicle and other evidence that they have collected. Now, one of the pieces of evidence in this case is going to be a supposed confession by Melly. Melly had on his cell phone
Ça aussi on l'avait appris. Ça fait quelques mois que je vous en avais parlé de cette news.
1 month to the day after this murder happened. Now, just to give you a little bit of an update or a refresher as to what this case was about, Melly and 3 other guys were in a car, and they were driving somewhere near the Florida Everglades, and 2 of the people in the car were shot, and then YNW Melly, or AKA Jamel Demons, and Corlin Henry, AKA YNW Bortland. They were, Bortland was driving, Melly was in the rear left passenger seat, and the 2 others were in the other seats in the car. And at about 4 in the morning, the 2 men that were shot were brought to the ER by Melly and by Bortland. Now, they tried to say that the car was shot up and that it was a drive-by, that they were the victims of a drive-by.
Ouais.
The government found, the police found about 40 shell casings outside the vehicle. I don't know if it was quite 40, but they were 40 caliber.
42.
And the car was all shot up. The fatal shot to one of us in the back of the head, and there was a direct line from the back.
Ouais, je me souviens quand la police avait montré les photos.
Seat and into his head. So let's talk about.
Je sais plus comment on appelle ça. Balistique ou je crois que c'est comme ça qu'on appelle.
Of a confession. Now, what is a confession? Confession is used in court. But there's a rule called the admission of a party opponent. Generally, out-of-court statements are not admissible. They're called hearsay. However, when you have the admission of a party opponent and you have the state versus Melly, Melly would be the party opponent. That statement comes in. Let's say you're just suing Joe Blow, and anything Joe Blow said would come into evidence. So any prior words that Melly would say come into evidence, as long as it's relevant. No one has seen exactly what's on this video, but in a court document, the government gave a proffer as to what this evidence was. And what is said on the video is, there's no regrets for the shit that I did for that fella to die. Both of them never say when. Now, that doesn't give us much context. And I suspect there is
C'est vrai
more
que
context
cette vidéo c'est chaud.
So his statement comes in, and if the jury believes that's connected to the homicide, that's going to be a problem for Melly. Now, there aren't any witnesses that we know of. However, his co-defendant was let out on $75,000 bail.
C'est ça en fait.
I would be absolutely shocked if we got to trial, because I think it's going to trial next month. If we got to trial and his
Le
co-defendant...
co-accusé, il a été libéré et Melly, il est toujours en prison, quoi.
In a case like this, when the stakes are this high, people tend to fold. But we'll see what happens. There is no DNA in this case. But at the same time, I don't think DNA is really an issue. It's because there's no question that Melly was in the car.
Bah ouais, ça sert à rien, l'ADN. On sait que Melly était dans le véhicule.
So there's no question that they were there. And they say they were there. So you don't really need the DNA.
Voilà.
But it would be nice to have it from the prosecution standpoint, because you could show where each person was in the vehicle. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the prosecution. There's an issue about motive. You don't need motive to prove a murder case, but it does kind of help. It puts things into context. It explains where things are at. And in this case, there is a little bit of a, Melly and one of the guys they were best friends. They were absolutely best friends. However, it's unclear as to whether or not one of them had threatened his mother. And if he had threatened his mother, and that comes in as motive, that would be something. But without it, people don't just do things just for the sake of doing them. All I can say is maybe.
C'est vrai que c'est chaud quand même. Une embrouille avec la mère, tu vas tuer ton meilleur ami, c'est hard quand même. Hein.
Maybe there was something else going on. Who knows? And who knows if he even... Et
je pense pas que c'était un tir accidentel, puisqu'il y a 40 douilles qui ont été retrouvées, donc c'était pas des tirs accidentels.
With Melly's story. The other thing is the other piece of evidence that they're going to have the cell phone tower records. Now, what cell phone tower records do is they do two things. One, they establish a timeline.
Ça serait une bonne preuve.
So,
les enregistrements téléphoniques.
Exactly where you were with GPS coordinates within a certain degree of error. And it's going to put Melly, in this kind of remote area. And it seems odd that you would have a drive-by shooting in such a remote location. YNW Bortland had told a story that may be inconsistent with what the cell phone tower records are. If that's you can't fake those cell phone tower records. They are what they are.
Ouais, c'est pas possible.
And we've talked about that on this channel a little bit. You've got a situation where you've got two co-defendants, and if they're going to be tried together, they can't use Bortland's statement against YNW Melly. Why not? Because there's USA versus Bruton, which is a case that says you can't admit the hearsay of one against the other. Sure, that would be, the statement of Bortland would be admissible in his own trial, but it wouldn't be admissible in Melly's trial. So you have a situation where the cell phone tower records are going to pinpoint where they were, and you've got a situation where they say they bring the other to the hospital. So those are two independent pieces of information that put Melly in the car and his co-defendant. Now, there are going to be experts in this case. There's going to be forensic.
En vrai, c'est une histoire compliquée.
Experts, ostensibly with regard to the blood, because they're going to have to show that the DNA, the blood that's in the vehicle, belonged to the decedents. And then you're going to have a criminologist or some type of expert to show where the bullets came from, and you're going to show, and they're going to show the trajectory of the bullets, and certainly they're going to show the trajectory of the fatal shots. Here's one of the things that will be interesting, because if these were really, if it was really a drive-by and not a close-up personal shot, One of the things that happens in a close-up personal shot is you'll see a thing called stippling. Stippling is right around the edge of the.
Je pense pas que c'était un drive-by. Hein. Je pense que c'est juste une fusillade qui a éclaté. Et... Franchement, j'ai du mal à imaginer Melly. Non, c'est chaud. T'imagines Melly avec son co-accusé, tirer plus de 40 balles.
Black marks right around the ring of the injury. Now, if they have that, you know it wasn't. And I don't know that they have that or don't have that, but if they have that, that will be a death nail to their case because there's no way you can cause stippling if it's drive-by. Because a drive-by is what? It's from far away. You're not going to get stippling from from a shot away. It's caused by the fire coming out of the end of the barrel and burning the skin, and it burns it in a pattern. And in one of the shots, if it was behind the car seat, you wouldn't see it either, because you would have the headrest that would be in the way, ostensibly. But if there is stippling, that would be a death knell to his case. Now, my prediction on this case, I don't have a prediction. I don't know what's going to happen with Melly. I think it's an uphill battle for both sides. Melly's got an incredible team of lawyers. Melly's team is accomplished, and I don't think that they're going to leave any stone unturned. However, there is a lot of smoke here, and there's a real danger when you are dealing with a circumstantial case. And I've seen juries really go whole hog on a case where there's no direct evidence, but it's all circumstantial. Here's the other part that really bothers me about Melly's case. If this is a drive-by shooting, why is there an empty 40 caliber casing inside the vehicle? There shouldn't be one.
C'est vrai.
And there shouldn't be one because if there's a empty casing inside the vehicle, there's only one or two ways that casing gets in there. Either there's a shot fired from inside the vehicle.
Franchement, j'aimerais trop savoir ce qui s'est réellement passé parce que là, c'est. Ils ont maquillé la scène. Enfin, tu sais même plus quoi penser au final. S'ils ont maquillé la scène, si c'est un drive-by, si c'est une fusillade.
You've got Mr. Portland, who is out on bond, $75,000 bond on a homicide case, and he hasn't said squat, and I don't know that he's cooperating or not cooperating, but if we get to the trial and we don't see him testifying against Melly, I would be absolutely shocked. So, tell me what your thoughts are. This has been Bruce Rivers, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'll give you another update as the trial progresses.
Finalement, dans cette vidéo, on n'apprend pas grand-chose. C'est plus un résumé, parce que je m'en souviens, l'année dernière, ouais, je crois que c'était l'année dernière, je crois pas que c'était en 2021, il y avait des médias américains qui avaient partagé des photos. On voyait la police scientifique examiner la scène du crime, on voyait les douilles qui étaient par terre, on voyait la vitre du véhicule qui était pétée, la trajectoire de la balle. Et c'est vrai que ça venait du côté passager arrière droit, juste au passager côté droite, devant le véhicule. Et dans la vidéo, l'avocat nous dit que Melly se trouvait côté passager gauche. Donc comment Melly a pu tuer ses deux potes? Son pote qui se trouvait à sa droite et l'autre qui était devant, sachant que la trajectoire de la balle venait de derrière le véhicule. Comment Melly pouvait le tuer? À part s'il sort du véhicule et qu'après il tire derrière le véhicule, ok. Mais il y a une quarantaine de douilles qui ont été retrouvées. Il y a un flingue qui a été retrouvé à l'intérieur du véhicule. J'aimerais trop savoir ce qui s'est passé. Moi, quand il y a des affaires comme ça, j'ai envie de savoir la vérité. Ça veut dire même quand il y aura le verdict pour Melly, on ne saura pas vraiment si c'est vraiment ça, la vérité. En tout cas, les écoutes téléphoniques, ok, ça c'est des bonnes preuves, mais l'enregistrement où Melly dit des trucs, il avoue comme quoi pour le meurtre, c'est pas vraiment une preuve en soi, tu vois, même l'avocat il l'a dit. Enfin bref, dites-moi ce que vous en pensez de cette vidéo les gars. Sur ce, on se donne rendez-vous très prochainement pour d'autres vidéos news. Prenez soin de vous la famille. Peace.
Got the bezel, had to switch my schedule. On my dick, she Lego, Ego, never Lego. Her my stuck up on me, so I call her Velcro. Till I need my dinero pendejo. Hit my metro if it's about the peso, like it's Go Diego. Make it right on schedule. Got the pistol on me with the dick extendo. Bitches in the back just like a fucking echo. Hey, that bitch told me you got pencil dick. She grip on my dick like a selfie stick. I got a big gun, I need help with it. To wet your babe up, Michael fell with it.